All right, let us begin with the topic du jour today after last night's preseason action across the NFL and the New York Giants' young quarterback of Jaxson Dart. Dart has another touchdown pass under his belt. He has a running touchdown last night against the Jets as well. And suddenly the toast of New York happens to be the former quarterback at Ole Miss. And I am one that actually believes in Dart despite such a small sample size, and I'll tell you why. It's not that I've seen enough to convince me that he's a, certainty at the position, but what I think is very clear is the amount of reps, the amount of starts, the amount of passes he has thrown in college. And in today's generation, your Elite 11 camps, your passing camps, and the like, Jaxson Dart looks like he is very comfortable in the pace, in the rhythm, in the speed of the Giants offense and in an NFL offense. Now, again, this is preseason. Things get fired up to a next level. So I never go crazy about preseason stuff. And that's why last week I was mentioning how Shedeur Sanders, let's take a pause. It's a really good step forward, but it is not a full picture of whether he is ready to start or not, or whether that he's busted everybody's predictions that he was a bust. There's no way to know. And there's no way to know about Jaxson Dart yet either. But Dart's composure in this offense is not only a compliment to how Brian Daboll has fashioned the offense, but also a compliment to him. In both the games against the Bills and the Jets, you have seen him drop back to pass, look through his reads, make a pass. And what I like about Jaxson Dart is he already has a certain pocket presence that I think is hard to come by when you're a young quarterback. I look at Daniel Jones, who the Giants invested so much time in, and I feel like he never looked as comfortable as Jaxson Dart has looked at times in the pocket already. You'll see Dart drop back to pass, namely this touchdown that he threw down the sideline against the Bills last week in preseason game number 1. And he stood in against the rush. Rush came in. He stood tall and still delivered the pass. I thought that's an interesting throw because he didn't try to side shake. He didn't try to be elusive. He didn't go duck down. He stood there, threw it, hit it. He did that on a couple of occasions against the Bills, did the same thing last night against the Jets. That's something that only comes with the understanding of lots of reps, lots of games, lots of starts, lots of passes. And for the Giants brass, who was nearly thrown out last year, remember how many people wanted both Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen tossed out with another disastrous season in New York, another non-playoff season, planes flying overhead at MetLife Stadium. Mara was criticized roundly for sticking with these guys. But by doing so, look what ended up happening. This team now has a real hope and optimism that they've built a nucleus of guys from high-end draft picks and some savvy free agent signings that you can really build a team around. Just from drafting over the last 5 to 6 years, you were talking about Malik Neighbors at wide receiver, Kayvon Thibodeau as a pass rusher, Jaxson Dart as a quarterback, and Abdul Carter as a pass rusher as well. Those are massively important pieces to have if you're ever going to turn the corner. Now, it doesn't guarantee anything for the Giants this year, and I think that anytime that a guy becomes the flavor of the week, especially in New York, you've got to guard against it. On Monday, everyone's going to be talking about Jaxson Dart, and that's the last thing you want with a young QB. But what I've seen from him is a certain maturity and expectation of what the event is going to be, what it's going to look like, what he needs to do, and he's doing it. And that's a huge step forward for a young quarterback. I still don't think the Giants should start him out of the blocks. I don't think there's any reason to. You let Russell Wilson go out there and take some early bullets for the team. You know that he's a temporary solution. What you're sensing is, at very worst, Dart is going to be your starting quarterback. Week 1, 2026 is what you hope. So you let 2025 simply be, you only put him in there when he's ready and the team is ready around him. There is no sense in rushing this. And then, as you watch him grow, you pick your spot strategically and say, now it's your era. Because the early returns on Dart is This is not going to be a work in progress. And I'm not talking about will he not have ups and downs. He will have downs. He will throw interceptions. He will make bad mistakes and bad decisions. That happens. But another young quarterback in town, across town with the New York Jets, Sam Darnold. Get in there and do something. Zach Wilson, get in there and save us. That's never the right situation for a young QB. It ruined those two guys, at least early in their career. Maybe Darnold now ends up having a great second half of his career, but it feels like Zach Wilson's always going to be, nothing. Don't push him in there too early, even though the early returns are really good. Wait and be patient. But the early returns are very good, and Jaxson Dart looks the part of a starting quarterback, something the Giants have been sorely lacking ever since the retirement of Eli Manning.